and speak out for human rights, or are they more like passive consumers, do you think?
Well, I can speak only from the perspective where I'm standing now. It's Youth Initiative for Human Rights, and this is the place where I'm meeting a lot of young activists who are struggling for the human rights promotion, protection, and then promotion and equal enjoyment on the rights and for all people. The way I can speak about human rights activists is like really optimistic, as there have been many young people around me coming from different areas in Bosnia and Herzegovina that are part of the idea and ideas that the Youth Initiative for Human Rights promotes in Bosnia. And so there is more than one person. There are so many young active people living in really remote and isolated and segregated communities in Bosnia who now know what the human rights are and what are the basic human rights standards they should each person should have.
What are your views on former Yugoslavia, and how do you think Bosnia has adapted to being an independent country?
Well, it happened a long time ago, and it happened exactly 22 years ago. And even the beginning of independence was not that easy. It was really brutal war from 92 to 95. I can discuss it from all historical, political, and also very personal part of view, but that's the way how all the countries in the region actually were working on. But the difference between Bosnia and other countries is that we really suffered horrible war, and basically that the relics of the war and the consequences are the things that we live with still now, which is 18 years after the war.
What changes do you think that you have achieved, like in society?
Things are not happening that easy in society. You may see that war was stopped in 95 after the Dayton Peace Agreement was signed up in Dayton in the United States, and that was the way how we achieved peace in very formal way. But some consequences of the peace agreement as such, and the fact that one of the integral part of this peace agreement was the constitution of Bosnia and Herzegovina, which has not been amended for 18 years at all, is really big thing, and the consequences of this are visible in the streets of Sarajevo now in February, when you have horrible, very high social riots, and where people are going out to the streets begging for the basic human rights. So we can speak about the end of war and the peace and kind of stability, but since then on we cannot still speak about human rights and minimum standards of human rights that each convention or declaration or any other agreement that Bosnia and Herzegovina has signed up in the meantime is not in force, like de facto.
And how, like regarding the recent protests as well, how do you think that the youth is affected and by the way the system is run, like the country is run?
The fact is that the system has been run in a very wrong way. It was a kind of oligarchy, which was really like based on ethnicity level, on ethnicity basis. On the ethnicity ground, so it has been important to be Bosnian, Croat or Serb rather than being smart and successful. And I mean that's the same question that we got when we went out to the streets one of the days, and it happened that like many journalists come and ask like, what do you as young people think about it? And I'm personally afraid of position of young people, and I'm thinking if I'm to be one of those workers in 20 years time or 10 years time without all the rights that I should have as belonging to right to work, including pension system, and if my parents are supposed to be also in the street, or like what's the future out of this? And also that what is really connected to the protests is the a huge amount of fear among people. They think that this is the way to start new conflicts or not even war, but new conflicts among people, and that's how it's getting abused these days also.
So how do you think that, how do you feel about young people of Sarajevo in the future?
I'm feeling concerned, but still at some point very optimistic as I'm standing here and working and being surrounded by young people of Bosnia and Herzegovina who really did something for themselves, who really rise up their voices and who really managed to write up the very concrete and very clear and concrete demands to the plenum, the existing group of people who is getting together and reading requests and preparing the requests for the government. And those are young people who really have done for themselves and still keep on doing something for their own development.
We basically want to know more about your project that is about Sarajevo Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
Your project with them, and how do you use this platform to reach your aims?
So Sarajevo Film Festival is one of the cultural activities that's really famous in the region, but it's also one of the ways we decided to touch young people all over Bosnia and all over the region. Besides SFF, we also do work quite same activities during the international theater festival called MES, and some other film festivals like Promotion of Sundance. And the thing is that we actually find that using cultural activities as a tools to achieve young people, to approach young people and to talk to them about different about things that they have in common, but also they have different backgrounds. The cultural activities are really perfect basis for this. Mm-hmm. And Sarajevo Film Festival is really like happy opportunity for them, like big thing for them to be in Sarajevo and to take part, to get to be accredited, which is part of their engagement, and to watch all the movies at the Docu Fest, at the documentary part of the festival, and to talk to all the authors about movies they watched. Like after each of the screening, they have these Q&A sessions at the festival square, where they tackle upon all those small issues that they saw in the movie, but specifically when it's based on socially or economically or any other ways they recognize from their societies. So it's about human rights, it's about conflict resolution, it's about inclusion and discrimination and everything that each movie didn't even mention, but maybe they saw out of the movie. And also in the so they usually watch something like 3 slots of the movies per day, and it could be in each slot it could be more than one movie, because documentary movies are quite short. So it could be that they watch something like 10 movies per day and they talk to each of the author. And in the morning time they also have educational training, sometimes in the same place where you are now. This is the activists room that we usually that serves for the activists throughout all year, but during the festival in the morning time they come to this place and they have some educational activity.
What other interesting projects have you what were the successful ones?
I think that we have been very successful with our own proposals for the amendments of Constitutional Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina. When young people, as a result of one of the workshop and session, came up to idea to make 100 points how to amend the Constitution of Federation, and when the expert group funded by American Embassy in Bosnia started working on on amendments of Constitutional Federation, they took into consideration 4 of the recommendations young people of Youth Initiative prepared.
What are some of the main social issues that youth face growing up in Bosnia? What are some of the problems that the general youth face?
It it is for sure lack of education and lack of proper education, and the fact that now when young people go to school, depending on where they go to school, they teach different history about recent past. They teach different languages. They're totally different languages. Even it's the same, but it's one time it's called Bosnian, one time it's Croatian, and one time it's Serbian. But I think that lack of education and lack of proper education is the main obstacle and the biggest social issue that they face.
The protests that are happening now. Do you think that what are the youth fighting for? Are they fighting for
Well, the demands and the requests have not been yet politically articulated, so I cannot say what the majority of people are asking for, but the fact is that it's important to achieve social justice, and that was the highlight, the line motive of all the protests starting in Tuzla. People were victims of privatization processes and lack of transparency, and huge amount of money being given to the state authorities on different levels, and the fact that it's money consuming and also time consuming to have so many ministries of justice. For example, we have had something like, given Dayton peace agreement structure, we got a very complex political structure. So we have had something like 14 ministries of justice, and imagine 14 ministries of everything, and there had not been justice visible in the streets and anywhere. And young people, I guess that those who came either feel empathy toward the other people, thinking how would the society behave to me when I'm in the ages of 60-year-old guy who didn't manage to get his pensions and retirements. But I guess that also they come from the families where those human rights have been really violated, and there's only a few families that really profited out of the war, that profited out of the system as it is, as they are politically engaged or very economically connected and interlinked with the society and politics.